So the challenge we're trying to solve is fragmentation. So there's so many platforms, so many devices out there, and that's really compounded because imagine if you go out and buy a new TV for your lounge, you don't throw that TV away, you take it upstairs and put it in your bedroom. Our customers, they really expect that the apps that even in their lounge that's on their really premium device is working the same on their 6-year-old TV upstairs. And we're hearing here at CTV World Summit actually about how the memory chip shortage is then driving the prices of those devices up, and that's actually making customers avoid or companies avoid to replace those devices. So we're going to see that getting even worse, and really that means to get to all the customers you want to be on, you have to test on a really wide range of devices, and that's what we're trying to solve really, is being able to test really efficiently across all those different range of devices. So really what we set out to achieve is creating a test automation framework and test automation technologies that allows a single set of test cases to be run across all of those devices. Imagine, like, for example, Odido, it's a telco in the Netherlands, and we do all the testing for them. They test across 33 different devices. Now, if we had 33 sets of test cases to update every time there was a small change, the overheads from that would be huge. And our technology allows us to make one change and that to be reflected on all the different applications. Well, I think actually the way we approached building the technology is quite different. So we didn't set to build a product that we wanted to put out into the market. We're an agency that designs connected TV applications. And originally that technology was just designed to be used as an internal tool. But over the years, we kind of scaled that up across all our existing applications. We decided we wanted to continue scaling that. And we thought the best thing to do was to take that to market, essentially. So we've approached it very differently. We're a vision-based automation framework. So what we do is we take an image of the application and an image of the element. And that element image can be taken from the designs, or it can be taken from cutting up the image of the application itself. And then we can tell you whether that's included in there or not. So whereas traditionally you might be using IDs or something called XPath, which are really long bits of text, very hard to read by a human, it don't really make much sense. You can just look at an image and go, right, that's what what the test is trying to look for. So that's a really different approach to some of the different competitors out there, I think. So for us, testing as a service is where we don't necessarily have to create the app for you. We can do. But we also, if you've created an app or a third party's created an app for you, you can give us that application and we'll run regular tests for that. And we see ourselves very much as not a product, but a service. And the difference between that really, we think, is that we'll modify and change the service for you, depending on, what exactly you're trying to achieve. The first thing that we do is we sit down and do an audit. That's really where we discuss with you how we could modify our services, modify our technologies to actually test exactly what you want to test. And we don't see it as like one product. We see it as a set of building blocks that we're able to pull together, these bespoke testing services, but in a much quicker way than if you set out doing that from the ground up. So really the benefits for our customers we see is like they don't have to maintain a whole suite of technologies. We've got a test lab with around 100 devices in it at the moment. That's always going up and down. We've got 70 TVs in there. Managing that device lab alone for customers is difficult. You've got to monitor temperature, you've got to monitor power, and there's lots of things you've got to do with that. So they don't have to do that. Also for our customers, they've got to be across all these different devices because the customers aren't in one specific place. They're fragmented all across devices, platforms, everything. So we allow them to be able to get to market quicker because we can do more rigorous testing. Of course, if we catch a bug earlier in that cycle, it costs them less because if a bug goes to production, they start losing customers over it. That could cost them thousands and thousands of pounds or even more. So we can catch those bugs really early as soon as they start appearing. We help solve that fragmentation issue. Yeah, absolutely. We see that this amount of testing really starts to be able to hone in on those really edge case bugs. And that really means that the quality of the apps elevated, ultimately ending in a much better user experience. I think that's another thing I should mention really, is that it's a specialist discipline, testing in media. A lot of frameworks out there are originally designed for web and mobile, and then kind of with CTV bolted on at the end, but that's not how we see viewer habits at the moment. We see people watching things on their TV, right? So we need to, when we set out to build our automation framework, we really did that with connected TV in mind at first, rather than bolting on at the end.